once upon a time, in a land very, very far away, that maybe you have been visiting in your dreams or maybe in your imagination, a land full of ice, where the ice meets the ocean somewhere in the very far north. This is where the story takes place. And in that story, it's been said that there was a girl who offended her father in some kind of way that I don't really know. And please don't ask me. But what I really know is that her father was truly upset, truly angry at her. So he took her from her hair and he dragged her to the coast, to the cliff. And then she pushed her down the cliff into the icy ocean. What she remembers is the cold, icy water touching her skin, and then her breath disappearing, and then her body sinking down, 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 down into the bottom of the ocean, and then fish coming. Lots of fish coming around her to feed from her flesh and her eyes and her skin, so that what was left out of her was simply her bones. And there she was, laying in the bottom of the ocean, a pile of bones, a pile of skeleton, thinking that this is the end. This is the end. That's the end of the story, of her story. Who would have known that years later, a fisherman wanting to get some fish for his community would find his way very near that bay that she was thrown into. A fisherman, a handsome young man, was in his kayak, and he was maybe in his thoughts for a moment, because he drifted from his regular fishing spot and was drifted into that bay next to that cliff where the father threw the daughter into the ocean. He, the fisherman, forgot that other people would never go into that spot, because they knew that this spot, this particular bay, was haunted, because the father threw the girl into the ocean there. So there is our fisherman, preparing his line, throwing it in the water, and gazing into the stillness of the waters, and how the simplicity of that space makes the blue and the white come together under the summer daylight. And he's waiting, and somehow all of a sudden he feels that he caught something, and by grabbing his line he feels that this something is quite big. Maybe he's bringing out a great fish, big enough to feed all the family for quite some time, so he doesn't need to go back to fishing every day. So there he is, dragging, trying to pull that line into the boat. Meanwhile, the hook of the line is hooked over the bones of the skeletal woman, and she is super scared. She's really trying to disentangle herself. She found somehow a comfort in this discomfort of her deathbed over there. So she's really trying to disentangle herself, free herself from the hook, but the fisherman is really pulling with force. So she is being pulled on the surface after many, many years of being there in the dark, in the unknown. She's being pulled into the surface, and the fisherman is busy pulling the line out, and he doesn't see that behind him, what comes out of the waters of the ocean is the skull of the skeleton woman, and then the teeth of the skeleton woman, and then bones in weird combinations. So he's there, and he's pulling, and all of a sudden he looks behind and he sees that creature, and he's like, ah! And he's super scared. And then immediately he forgets of the line and he starts paddling so he can go back home. But somehow the skeleton woman is now connected still with the line, with the fishing line, and she's following him, and he's gazing back, and she's there almost surfing behind him, and he's like again, ah, super scared and frightened to the bone, and he's paddling even faster and moving and coming closer to the coast. And when he gets the coast, he's just grabbing his fishing line, his stick, and he's moving fast, walking, running on the tundra, fast as he can. He doesn't even notice that the skeleton woman is right behind him, still connected to the line, and just going very quickly, very quickly, passing through the village and arriving to his igloo, to his snow house, and he's going down, crawling on his four, getting in the dark snow house, and finally he's safe. Thank goodness he's safe. Thank God, thank Goddess, he's safe finally at last. Oof, what a relief. And what happened? I mean, what the heck happened out there? And then he decides to light the candle with the oil whale. And when he lights the candle, again, there she is, this monster following him. She's now there in his little comfort house, and he's like pulling back to the end of the house, stitching his back to the wall of the house, really scared. And then he takes a couple of breaths, and maybe as he's breathing, maybe as the light is flickering, the light from the candle is flickering on this pile of bones, something is changing inside of him. Something is really shifting. And he sees her with compassion, and he sees that even a skeleton does not deserve to be in this pile of bones that she is. She had the skull on her toes and her knees into her rib cage. She was a mess. And this young man really felt compassion for her. Very timidly, he approached her. And he started disentangling her from his knots first, from his fishing line, and then he tried to put the bones in some kind of order that represents the human body. So very gently, with a lot of love, with a lot of care, he's doing this crafting of the bones. And at some moment, the skeleton woman is intact, is whole. Her skeleton is in shape. And he feels even more for this skeleton woman. And he takes his fur and puts it on her so that she is warm. And he continues to sharpen his knife. From time to time, he's gazing at her and still sharpening his knife. Meanwhile, she, the skeleton woman, is also very scared. I mean, who is this man and why he is kind to her? What can she do? What can she say with a man that, can break her bones and throw her again into the ocean? So she's in silence, gazing at him, and he is in silence, gazing at her from time to time. And as the time passes by, he's drifting, he's feeling drowsy and he's drifting into sleep. And I don't know what happens, but it is said that sometimes when humans dream of something beautiful that is connected to their longing, a tear falls down from their eyes onto their cheeks, and the skeleton woman saw that tear finding its way like a river on the fisherman's cheek, and all of a sudden she felt really thirsty of sweet water because she hasn't drunk anything for years, maybe centuries, maybe millennia. So she's approaching her mouth and she's drinking that one drop of water, one drop of life, and she's drinking and she's drinking and she's drinking, and she's really feeling that she has drunk rivers and rivers of sweet water, as if life is coming back to her. Finally, when everything was considered to be the end, she's finding life again. It was a drop of life. And as she's making herself less thirsty, she is listening to the drum that is in his heart. And with a lot of fierceness and gentleness, she opens his skin, his rib cage, she's grabbing his heart out of his chest, and here is his chest on her, in between her hands, and she's beating, she's drumming that heart, she's banging that heart, and she's making a kind of rhythm that makes her body move the way she was moving when she was alive. She feels this life force, this vitality coming back into her spine, and she is drumming, and as she is drumming, she starts singing some kind of ancient songs without words, something like and as she's singing, life is returning to her, and on her bones, flesh is starting to cover them, and the flesh is becoming more, and this skeleton woman keeps singing, and then more flesh is piled up around her bones, and then skin comes and she's singing even more, and then hair comes and is put on her hair, and then all that a woman needs comes and finds her, and now she's a ripe, beautiful woman with a drumming heart of a man in her hands. What do you think she's doing? What do you think she's doing? Well, she's taking that heart and she's placing it back into the chest of the fisherman, and gently with her hands she's healing the opening of the chest so that no wound is visible, no wound has ever happened. And somehow she keeps singing, and through this new song, the clothes of the fisherman are shed, and now she is naked and he is naked, and skin to skin they are touching each other, skin to skin, heart to heart, breath to breath, human body to human body, and they are now connected and entangled in the most sweet, erotic, lifeful way. The way of life, the way of the primordial energy. And here they are, and this is how they wake up the next day in the morning in the embrace of each other. And it is said that this is how they lived. This is how they lived from this moment on, the skeleton woman and the fisherman, and they lived happy, and they left the story for us to feed on. Let's take a breath with this story. Let's take a breath with this short story that has come on our way. And I'm gonna give you a few invitations to work with the story, because the story comes with some stored treasures inside, and now we are unpacking these treasures that are laid deep within you, treasures that are different for each one of us. So I'm going to give you a few invitations to work with the story. The first invitation is maybe to draw the story, to make a drawing of the story, or of the image that is mostly calling you from that story. Another invitation is to spend some time with the question, where do you find yourself in the story? What has hooked you from the story? What has taken you? What is vibrating the most from the story for you? Another way to work with a story is to consider that this whole story and all the characters of the story are characters of your inner psyche, of your inner being. And then you can identify who has been the father inside of you. What part of you is the father? What part of you is scared of something and wants to throw something into the depths so that is not visible? And then which part of you is the skeleton woman? The one that has come to death and then is being called to be reborn. And who is the fisherman within you? The one that holds both fear and courage and love. Yeah, so kind of making a map of your inner characters and knowing them. Maybe knowing what is the intention of each one of them. What is their deepest fear and what is their longing? What is their work? Another invitation is to have a conversation with all your inner characters. So to have a conversation with your inner father, this father that is scared of something and wants to put it um, out of the surface, into hide it somewhere, or have a talk with your inner skeleton woman, or have a talk with your inner fisherman. Have a conversation with them. Maybe you want to bring them out in a land and wander with them side by side so you get to know them more. Another possibility of working with a story is to be with the question, what is the medicine of this story? What is the story telling to you? What is the story inviting you into? And another way of working with the story is to look at the symbols of the story. Perhaps how life and death play together. In what way they play together in the story and in your life. Maybe also how hate and love play together in the story and in your life. But also how woundedness and healing take place together, dance together in the story and in your life. So here there are a few possibilities of working with the story. And if you want to find more about the story, you can go to the book of Pinkola Estes, The Women Who Run with the Wolves, and find Pinkola Estes' perspective on this. But it's vital that you look into what this story is telling you before you look into what Pinkola Estes is talking about. And with this being said, I am thanking you for being with me, and I am wishing you journey well with the story of the skeleton woman. She will be with you now, feeding you from afar. Thank you.